Hey, this is a demonstration video for the simple save system that you can implement into your 3D project for Unity. I'm just kind of doing a walkthrough. If you have any further questions, I have my email listed at the end of this video. So I hope you guys are doing okay. Thanks. Okay, so on our save system, what I have is just a just a simple UI, and that's it. I have got a player, but it's just an empty game object I've called player. I put them at a X10, Z10, just to have them as a position on there. And then we've got just 3 scripts, and I'll walk through them. But basically all we're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to let me hit play here. Okay, so let's just say we make it to level 3, and we've got 10 health, and we're at X10, Z10. Okay, we hit a save point. We're going to hit save, and then, oh man, something happens, and we have to go all the way back to the beginning or start over. So restart the game, put this back at level 1. So we got start over at 5 on the health, and X is at 20. And you say, well, I was on level 3, I hit that save button, so I'm going to load that game. So you load it. It's going to bring our data back, put us at level 3, give us our health back to 10, and put us back at 10 again. So let me walk through the scripts and kind of explain how they work. All right. Okay, so I'm in Microsoft Visual Studio. We've got our 3 scripts. One's called player save, the other one's called save system, and the other one's player data. The player data and the save system are just scripts that just have to exist in our folder. So that's why when you see this public class save system, we're not deriving from MonoDevelop, because it doesn't have really anything to do with the play of the game. Part of the save system is we're going to be taking our player data. We're going to be transforming that into a binary file, just for some security. So you can't go in there, find the save file, and then manually adjust your stats. It's just a little layer of security to keep people from doing that. So in our library systems, we just need to add using system.io, and then system.runtime.serialization.formatters.binary, and that's just our binary formatter that we can get to there. Okay, so this is our save player function. Okay, we're going to be deriving the data. We're going to be pulling data from the player save script. Okay, and this is the one that's actually on the player, so it's recording the data that's actually coming off our player. Okay, and I'll go over this stuff. This is just basically it's a bunch of our UI, but this right here is where we save the player. We're actually running this function, and this is where we load the player data. So once we save this to a file, then we're going to pull that from a file and then reread that raw data back into a Unity readable data. Okay, so in our save system, we're going to have this method called save player. We're going to be pulling the data from the player. We're going to call in our binary formatter. We're going to call it formatter, and then it's going to be equal to a new binary formatter. Okay. Now we're going to have a string, call it path, and this is a path where I want to save my data. So this is the easiest way to do it. So when you make your game, you can save it to a specific file on your system. but when you make it a game and give it to a friend, or put it on, they're not going to have that file in their system. So if you just save it to a persistent data path, everybody's is going to have that when they're playing the game. And then, so that's our application dot persistent data path. And then we're going to call it player saves. Okay, player dot saves. Just what's going on there. Okay, so we're going to want to open a file stream. We're going to call it a new file stream, which is this is just a function that allows, it's going to use this path and then use this file mode and create this player saves file. Okay, and it's going to take our player data, we're going to call it data, and we're going to say new player data. That's pulling the data off of this player save. Okay, all right, so once we have all this data from the player and we've got the stream open to this player.saves create file, we want to take that data, we want to call up our formatter, and we want to serialize that stream and data, which is going to serialize it into a binary file. And then the most important thing that we want to do at the end of this is we want to close that stream. We don't want to leave that open. So the stream.close there at the end. Okay, and then the load player is pretty much the same thing. We're just going to be pulling that data back out when we do that. So we want to look down this path. So you can just highlight this, copy and paste, because it's the exact same thing. So we're in a string, we're going to call it path. It's going to be the application.persistent data path, and it's going to be called player.saves. Okay. Then we want to do a check. We want to make sure that the file exists before we start telling it what to do with it. So that's where our if statement, if file.exist, that path. And then we're going to take our binary formatter, call it formatter, make it a new binary formatter, open up that file stream, and do the path, but this time we're going to do file mode.open instead of file mode.create. Okay, so we're going to open that file. We're going to take that player data that's in that file. We're going to use the formatter. We're going to deserialize the data, which means we're going to unbinary it, turn it back into just regular data, and save it as player data. Okay, then we're going to close that stream. Okay, and then we're going to return this player data at the end of it. Okay, so if we hit load player and it can't find this file, so that's what this is. If you can't find it, we'll then do a debug.log error, run save file not found in that path, and we're going to return null. Okay, that's all we need for this one. So if you can just hit Control S and save that. Okay, so if we go to our player save, and this is when it is going to derive from the model behavior, we just need to add the Unity engine.ui to the top, because we're going to be doing a lot of UI work in here. And this is just basically our variables. We're going to have two public ints. They're going to be level and health. Then we need to access the text elements in our UI. So it's going to be public text, level text, health text, and then position text. And then we're going to do a private void awake. And then we're just going to be grabbing those text components and make them ready to accept our information to change that text. So it'll be level text equals level text.get component, the text element. Okay, we just need to do that for the health text and the position text. Okay. Next on our update, which happens once per frame. Okay, so it's just going to be constantly checking for changes to our stuff, and then it's going to insert those changes into our UI elements. Okay, so we do the level text.text equals to those are quotes plus our level information. Okay, so it's going to enter whatever our level we set it to into that slot. Same with the health. On the position text, I've did this. If we don't do it this way, it just gives 3 raw coordinates. You just have to know it's X, Y, and Z. It doesn't state it. So that's why I've kind of made this long thing here, so you can actually put x colon, then you want to put a space, plus, then you want to enter the transform.position.x, and you want to take this information and do .toString. Okay, so it's going to change that to a string and place that in after this x. Okay, so you want to do the exact same thing to your y and to your z. Okay, and I'll kind of show you at runtime. I'll show you what that does there. Okay, then we want to call, this is going to be when we hit the save player button. Okay, that's what we're going to be calling, and we're basically just going to be calling that save system dot save player this. So we're going to be saving this player's data, okay, to the save system dot save player, which is what we just did over here. And we got this load player. So when we click the load button, and then it's going to take our data. It's going to take it from the save system to the load data. Okay, so that's going to return that raw data. So we just need to make sure that we connect it back up with what we want. So the level, which is these ints up here, is level and health. We want to enter the data.level. Okay, so the data we retrieve, we want to enter that into the level. Health is the data.health. Okay, the vector3 position, I'll kind of explain this here in the next script. But we're basically, what we have to do is vector3 doesn't exist outside of the Unity game engine. Okay, so if we do something that's not mono behavior, they don't know what a vector3 is. Okay, so we have to take that vector3 data as an array for x, y, and z, have 3 positions of data, and turn that into a an array of data, and then we got to take that array of data, turn it back into a vector3 position. Okay, so that's what this is. So the vector3 is position, and then we're going to take the position.x, position.y, position.z, take that data, and then make it the transform.position equal to position. Okay, so it's just transferring this raw data back into a vector3. Is what that's doing. And then these right here on our UI, you notice we have the little plus and minus buttons. These right here, this will, these two little things here just allow us to change the numbers on the UI when we hit those buttons. Okay. All right, so that's it on that one. Hit Control S and save. Okay, so if we go to our player data, this one also we're not going to run on a game object, so we don't have to use monodevelop, but we don't have to add anything up here either. But we do want to, above this class, we want to make it system serializable. Okay, so these other scripts can read this information. So this is basically the player data that we're going to be feeding into our save file that we're getting off of our player save stuff. So we got a public int level, public int health, and then we need this public float array, and we're going to call it position. Okay. We don't really have to have a position on here, at least not to display. I mean, I just kind of wanted to have a display so you could see that it is saving that information. But in your game, you'd probably want it to start it at the save spot. So we have to take this float, we're going to call position. Then our method, we're going to say public player data, and we're going to say it's a player save, and we're going to call it player. Okay, so we're going to be reading, connecting it up to this script right here as the name of player. Okay, so our next one, our level info is going to be equal to player.level. Health is going to be equal to player.health, and then position is equal to a new float, and then our array, we're going to still assign it 3 positions. So we type 3 in there, and then we're going to do position 0, which is the first position in an array, is going to be our player.transform.position_x, and then our position number 1, which is second position, is position y, and the third position, which would be number 2, is going to be z. Okay, so that right there is going to grab that data and then when we do hit the save system, it's going to grab that data, turn it into a binary file, and file it away. Okay, so that's kind of how these three scripts run together on there. Let's see, so we make sure they're all saved. Head back over to Unity. So, oh, it was playing the whole time. Okay, so if we go back into play, that's where we did the X, Y, and Z. Otherwise, it would just read 10, 0, 10. So, you know, the way I did it, we're actually going to know that's X, Y, and Z. Okay. But once again, you know, we can say we got the level 3, we got 5 health. Let's say X equals 30. Okay. So we can take all this data, we're going to save that to a file. And you can also have another trigger that when you hit save, you can have it check that it didn't make it, and then you can bring up a dialog box that says file saved or something. But you know, then if something happens and you got to start all the way back over to level 1, actually if you're going to start over new, you got, you know, 10, and then changes back to 10 there. You can say, well, you know, when I load my saved game, you hit load, and it's going to take you back to level 3 with 5 health at your position. So that's just a basic save system there. If you have any questions, my email is, stop this here. Well, I'll bring that up. But I should be on a Zoom room for 1 hour for 2 days a week. The times I'll have to figure out later, but if you have any questions or anything, you can contact me in that Zoom room, or I'll get you my email address. You can email me any questions that you have. Okay? All right, thanks.